During Holy Week, we will be hearing from the servant songs of Isaiah as our first readings. There are four of them we'll hear from this week. The first one we heard today, tomorrow will be the second. The third one we actually heard yesterday as our first reading at Mass, but also we'll be doing that again on Wednesday evening when we have Mass. And then the fourth one, which is the end of chapter 52 all the way through 53, that will be on Good Friday. So if you're not spending time meditating on, for instance, the Passion of Christ, and you're saying, looking for something else to meditate on, maybe to go to those four first readings we'll hear, those four servant songs, which speak so beautifully of Jesus. Isaiah is sometimes called the fifth evangelist because he speaks so powerfully and so clearly of Jesus, and especially in the third and fourth servant songs, of his suffering and his death for us. In the gospel today, we hear now, this is just after the resurrection of Lazarus, and so now Jesus comes to Bethany again, and you can see this, how Mary is just so full of thanksgiving to Jesus for raising her brother from the dead. And so she takes this perfume, a whole liter. You know, when I think about a liter, I have to think about soda. Okay, so you have like the 2-liter bottles, but then I never knew they had 1-liter bottles till later, and I said, oh, so that's what that is. That's a lot of perfume. That is a lot of perfume. And she pours out, 300 days' wages, that's almost a year's worth of wages. That is very expensive that she's pouring out on his feet. And Jesus says, this is for my burial. Leave her alone. She's doing this out of love for me. We know, of course, that Judas didn't really care about the poor. He was more concerned about being able to get something for himself. And in fact, it's interesting, in Matthew and Mark's gospel, they have this event. It's a little different, but it doesn't have any mention of Judas in here. But immediately after this incident in Matthew and Mark, Judas is then seen going to the chief priests and saying, what will you give me if I hand Jesus over to you? And while we don't have him doing that in the Gospel of John, we see him here very much involved in this incident. There was something about this that led him then to betray Jesus. It was like the last straw. He didn't understand. He didn't understand the type of Messiah Jesus was. And he was focused more on, what am I going to get from this Messiah? And what can I give to this Messiah? This woman, Mary, in her gratitude, in her love, she gives this incredible gift. She wastes so much. She wastes so much. And Jesus recognizes this waste was given out of love. In fact, it says that she dries his feet with her hair, which, to see a woman's hair in that culture at that time, that was like, no, only the husband would see the woman's hair. So this is like scandalous. This is scandalous that she would do this. Jesus is saying, this is what love looks like. It's just a slight image of the love that he will then pour out on the cross, because lovers don't ask, what's the least I can do to get by? Lovers aren't minimalists. Lovers don't say, how can I just barely get your love? Jesus, with that first drop of blood at the agony in the garden, that one drop of blood would have been enough to save the whole human race, from the beginning of time to the end of time. But lovers don't ask, what's the least I can give? They ask, what's the most I can give? And Jesus gives every drop of his blood. He wastes his blood for love of you and me. And Mary wasted this perfumed oil for love of Jesus. And Judas just couldn't get that. He was expecting the Messiah to be coming in power. He wasn't expecting the Messiah to be one who would give his life ransom for many. As we reflect, as we prepare for the Passion, let us this week look at the incredible love of Jesus, who pours out every drop of his blood for us and gives us that blood every time we come to communion. We receive his body and blood, soul and divinity at the Eucharist. Let us ask God, what's the most I can give you? Let's not just say, okay, what's the least I can do to get to heaven? What's the most I can give you because your love is so great, I want to return my love, my little tiny love, but what I have, you, O God, to waste my love on you, as you've wasted your love on me.